Well, folks, good evening to you. Welcome back to the show. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one and only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. Yes, that Dungeon Delver, and you're watching my live stream. Whether you're watching it pre-recorded or whether you're actually actively out there in the audience, as a few of you are, here you are, and welcome. If you have just newly subscribed to the show and you're wondering what is all this about, well, 5 nights a week I try to bring you folks live streams that are fun and informative, and we talk about TTRPGs. And as many of you saw last night, we play TTRPGs sometimes on the channel, and sometimes on Wednesdays we do it, and that is reserved for the DMing skills of my co-host, my buddy from Australia, Mr. Kyle Schuant, who will be joining us here in just a hot minute. I do want to mention one thing before we get going. To everyone who is helping out with the GoFundMe for my sister's recovery for their house. They had that terrible fire back on New Year's Day morning. Thank you all for your donations. Please keep sharing the GoFundMe link, and keep spreading the word. I really super duper appreciate it. But with that said, I'm sure have a lot of stuff to talk about with Kyle, and he probably wants to blow the dust out of his mic. So let's go ahead and bring him on. And everybody say hello to the co-host with the mo-host, Mr. Kyle Schuant. Kyle, how are you? He's got his screens up.
The good old DM screen.
The good old DM screen. You got to keep that one. You got to keep.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, not in the Discord or don't pay attention to it, so I was clearing out an old box, and there's a bunch of D&D stuff among the DM screen, which I definitely want. There was a Dungeon Master's Adventure log, which place to take notes, I guess. I don't know. This strange map, which I think it's a map for or half a map. Oh, I tore it. I think it's a map for Oriental Adventures.
Huh.
Myanmar province map. Someone in the audience might recognize it.
I'm sorry, did you say Miami?
Myanmar. It's called. Yeah. MIYAMA. 3 mile hexes. Shrine Temple Monastery. But yeah, with the names like Moroto, Miki, Taragawa, Awa, and everything, I think it's meant to be Oriental Adventures.
I think or Karatur.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if anyone plays that, but there it is. Yeah, and then a whole bunch of modules. And I absolutely never run modules. So I play modules when other people are GMing them, and I've written them, but I don't run them. I just roll stuff up and come up with it more or less on the spot. Do it randomly. So then I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with them? Now, my ideal would be if there was like a D&D club, and I was handing this down to young dungeon masters who could then run their own games. I would just happily give them away to those young dungeon masters so they could spread the gaming goodness. So I guess if I get myself into the open game table this year, I might be able to do that. We'll see. But failing that, I guess I'll just sell them off. And so I was looking at
some real treasures there, man.
Yeah, well, perhaps. So I was looking at the Seum. For those who don't know, it's a D&D collector's website, and they give the more recent prices that things have sold on eBay for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just went through. They've got a chart of like things in condition of fair, good, near mint, whatever, and the prices that things have recently gone for. I looked at their notes of how they come up with the prices. They go, "We're not interested in if two people sold things to each other privately without there being a public transaction. They might just be someone's an idiot. They don't know what they're selling, or someone's an idiot. They don't know what they're buying." They said, "We're interested in public ones like eBay, because then there are at least two idiots." They said, so I guess very democratic way of looking at things. But yeah, most of them are only worth, like, if they're in fair condition, $9 or $10. But fair condition turns out to be not that great. Like, poor condition means it's basically unusable. Fair condition means it's got some things wrong with it, like S4 here, the Lost Caverns of Shojkanth, however you say it.
Sojkan.
We've got, you can see the spine is all wrecked there. But the pages themselves are all intact. The maps are all present. There's no stains on the pages or anything. So it's very much usable as a module.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if you were using it as a module, what you would probably do as the game master is to keep this cover separately in a plastic envelope or something like that to stop it getting wrecked further. The cover. Oh no, they've got. I thought it was just wilderness maps, but they've got internal maps as well. The good old blue and white ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got the separate booklets. But that's all intact, so that would count as fair condition because of the wrecked spine, which means it's got some things wrong with it, but it's usable. That's my understanding of the descriptor anyway. Whereas something like this, the Lankmar Swords of the Undercity counts as good condition because it's got a bit of normal wear and tear. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera. There's a little bit of creasing along the spine.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the book, the book itself is all quite intact. There's nothing wrong with. There's no tears on any pages or anything like that. So that would count as good condition. Let's see what else we got. Let's do a showcase and take a walk down memory lane and stop me if you've played any of these and have stories to tell. So then there's Dungeon Module C2, the Ghost Tower of Inverness.
Oh yeah, we've had Alan Hammock, the designer of that. I met him a couple times. He's a swell guy. He's been on the show a lot, and we've actually done a deep dive of Inverness. It's a fun module.
Yep. Well, it's a pretty classic module in that it's got the visual aids,
Mm-hmm.
the pictures that you can show the players. Oh, another visual aid is the little puzzle the players have to deal with. This would be good condition as well because it's just got, things come out of the staple bind over the years. One or two of these things might have been intended to come out, I'm not sure. But they're probably prized out by a former DM who was using them to show the players one at a time. Here's your visual aid number 5. Yeah. I think you're even maybe meant to cut it up because you've got here the pre-generated characters. I believe it was a tournament module. Is that correct?
Yes, it was originally a tournament module. The original tournament copies that they gave out to DMs are incredibly rare, and they go for many thousands of dollars. That is not. That is 15 or 20 bucks.
Yeah, so it's got character information sheet, the fighter, and then it's just the monk, and so on. And it specifically says cut chart here. So you meant to cut the characters out, so there'll be a half letter size to give to players. No need for a name, I guess. Your character doesn't need a name till he survives the first combat encounter. Oh no, they've got names on them actually. Character name, Lembu. But up the top, it's the fighter, so that the DM wouldn't be saying, "Who wishes to play Lembu, the fighter?" They'd be saying, "Who's going to play the fighter?"
Right.
And
Well,
everyone's
see,
lawful neutral.
the modules that come with the pre-gens to be most useful because in those situations where you roll up a random encounter and it's an adventuring party, you can just grab that module and then you got them all statted up, ready to go.
Yep. So here's your level 10 magic user. And Huldar, the magic user, has got a lot of spells, but I mean, he is level 10. But I mean, he's even got almost all the 5th level spells. So he's pretty good. But I guess you need that for the tournament, one anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the Ghost Tower of Inverness.
So while you're pulling the next one up, I have to relate kind of a funny story. The last time I ran into Alan face to face was at GaryCon. I can technically say last year now. He was running that for a group, and I was just sitting on the side. They were in a small conference room, and I was kibitzing, and the wife and I were there. And one of the player characters had fallen into a pit of fire. Now they had a ring of fire resistance on, so they were safe. But I said, Alan, I certainly, far be it from me to tell you how to run your game, but shouldn't all of his equipment have to make a saving throw versus magical? And just this collective groan went up from the table. Of course, he didn't inflict that on them, but he said, well, the ring of fire resistance extends to the belongings too.
Well, I inflict that on them. So there was an occasion when the players, like the magic user does the old own goal with a fireball.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fireball's half the party, and it's like, oh, well, they've got the hit points; they can handle it. But I can't even remember what they were fireballing. It might have been a bunch of mummies. Can't remember. Anyway, and, I said, right, but the magic user fireballed himself as well. It's like, that's all right. I'll make the saving throw. So he makes the saving throw, but it's like, okay, now all your gear has to make the saving throw. And he lost his spell book.
Yep, it can happen. I've done it too. Hell,
it's just a wonderful picture that like there's the magic user and he's like, aha, and all his flames come up, and then his flames come out of his backpack. He's like, oh no, takes the backpack off, is pulling it out and whacking it with his hands. No, my spells. Many tears.
Yeah, I've done that with normal fire. We were playing, it's been a number of years ago, but the party was playing G1, the Great Giants module, and I had a giant grab a flaming brazier from the middle of the room. He grabbed it by its chains where it was hanging, and he flung it at the party's magic user and said, "Oh, you like to throw fire, runt!" And he hit him, and well, okay, it's a direct hit. Let's start seeing, what saved. And yeah, his Jubei was the name of the magic user, and yeah, his spell book too went up in flames. Protect those spell books.
Next up, we've got the Lost Island of Castania, which honestly I've never read. It's terribly cold. You swam for your life to this mysterious island, losing most of your provisions in the process, only to find it barren of all but grass. A biting wind from the north drives through your wet clothes, chilling you to the bone. Night is falling and promises even colder temperatures. You wish this place had even a bush to burn as firewood. Your stomach has just begun to complain about the lack of dinner when one of your companions calls and you rush to his side, hoping he's found a way to turn grass into a sandwich. Instead, he points to the ground in front of him. Look there. Set in a shallow depression in the ground is a stone door. Your friend reaches down and gives a tug, and the door swings slowly open on creaking hinges, revealing a descending stair. The first thought that crosses your mind is whether it would be better to freeze to death up here in the wind or fall into the hands of Castania the Mad, the Unpredictable. This adventure is for use with the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules. This adventure cannot be played without the AD&D rules produced by TSR Incorporated. Copyright 1984. So you won't avoid that adventure. But apparently it's an official RPG competition adventure. See the little blurb there?
And there you go. That's how you know it's official.
Many of the viewers will not realize that there was once a role-playing game association, which was basically TSR. It was basically D&D.
Yep.
I used to have a T-shirt. It definitely wouldn't fit me now because I bought it when I was 13. So
probably not. No.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all in good condition, but apparently isn't terribly collectible. No. They have pre-gens as well. Grow Mechadet, the second level dwarf fighter. Paterno, there he is. There's Grow. Looks like Elmore illustrations.
Yeah, that did. That looks a lot like a Larry Elmore kind of illustration.
It says illustrated Jeff Easley.
Ah.
Okay. Paterno Stlindhouse, the second level human paladin. These characters. Genton Stlindhouse must be the paladin's brother. Third level human cleric. He's got a bit of a what was that guy's name in Princess Bride, the evil prince? He's got a bit of that look to him with that hair.
Chris Sarandon was the actor, and it was Humperdinck. It was Humperdinck was the character, and it was Chris Sarandon was the actor. Yeah, he does kind of have that look to him. So I haven't played that one. Has anyone out there actually played? Which one was that? Lost Island of Castania?
Yes, that's right.
Have any of you guys played that?
I like this full page of who I presume is the wizard. This because this reminds me of the Fighting Fantasy books.
Oh, that's a lovely one. Yeah.
You know, with the kind of the really dense pen. You know, it's not just a figure and then the minimum showing, but you know, you see each book has got lines along its binding, you know, to kind of indicate tone and so on.
That is
I kind of like those really dense ones. You just know that the illustrator spent hours and hours doing them.
There is in Lost Caverns of Sojkonth, there's an illustration of the vampire princess Drolsna, as she is asleep on her stone slab there in her tomb. That is equally gorgeous. Jeff Easley's artwork is just lovely to look at.
Yeah, so they got a number of characters. 6 characters, yeah. So that's I like this. I'm going to spoiler it for anyone who hasn't played, but anyway. The library. Brudvig Simulacrum. AC 10, move 12, hit dice 4, hit points 8. Alignment, ? Damage 1 to 4, strength 12, intelligent. He has some first level spells, some second level spells. Brudvig was a chaotic evil, 10th level renegade mage brought to justice with Castania's help. Castania hated to see his fine mind go to waste, and it fed his ego to keep a simulacrum of a mage as a common library assistant. I'm getting Renfield vibes here.
Yeah.
The simulacrum has a much impaired intelligence and functions only as a 4th level magic user. He is still knowledgeable about higher levels of magic, but there are great and critical gaps in what he recalls. In combat, Bradvig throws his spells, then melees berserkly with his ornamental dagger. Bradvik answers only to his name. Other commands given him by Castania were, stay here until I tell you otherwise. Don't touch anything unless I tell you otherwise. Keep your mouth shut unless I tell you otherwise. Don't throw any spells unless I tell you to. If something goes wrong, you may defend yourself or the library in any way you can, as long as you don't kill anybody or damage my collection. He's a harsh master.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he will not leave the library. The party will probably have to kill or incapacitate him. Brilliant. See, that's what's missing from a lot of modern modules. That sense of humor.
Yeah.
That sense of the wizard being a bit mad. Even if he's a good guy, he's still a bit mad. C4 to find a king. This is another tournament module. 2 centuries ago, the last king of the Celtic kingdom of Pelham was deposed. Isn't that a train destination and the train gets hijacked? Pelham?
Yeah, taking him to Pelham 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was Robert Shaw played the heavy in that one, and they essentially they hijack a subway car, and you've got 30 minutes. We want to. And back then, it was like $2 million because the movie came out in 1972. Like that's crap, that's a ton of money. We'll bankrupt the city, but or we start offing the hostages. So
2 centuries ago, the last king of the Celtic kingdom of Pelham was deposed in favor of a high council. Now, however, things are going badly, and a restless populace longs for the days of the ancient kingship. I'm getting very Arthur vibes here. The High Council is floundering, and the political situation is turning ugly. It was then that the brothers of Brie, as opposed to the brothers of Camembert, an obscure monastic order, discovered a long-forgotten prophecy. In Pelham's time of greatest need, a long-dead king will arise to restore order. You have been chosen to prove that this is the time of the prophecy. You will take the first steps towards returning the lost king to the throne. This adventure contains the first 4 rounds of the AD&D Open Tournament that was originally run at the Gen Con 16 convention. It includes a tournament scoring system and a team of 10 characters of levels 4 to 7. This adventure can be played alone or as the first part of the 2-part Prophecy of Bree series. A scoring system. I don't remember how they used to score.
It could vary module to module. It generally it's laid out in each specific module, but there was no set specific methodology across all TSR modules. The A series had a scoring system that was uniform across all of them. But I don't think that one was then used with the C series or what have you.
Well, it says the scoring system is each major encounter is worth 100 points. Modify this amount if the players do not resolve the scenarios. For a specific objective, award 500 points. This will eliminate the possibility of one team earning many points but not completing the objective. Okay, so the scoring system is meant to be between teams, not within teams.
Right.
So their idea is obviously that there's 10 or something different game groups playing the same module.
Yeah. You'll have a group of, 10 DMs all running the same module, and they turn in their scorecards at the end of the tournament. And, that...
that's it. See, that's interesting because modern conventions tend to be the place where you go to play 50 different games rather than everyone plays the same game. So it's interesting. It's a different approach.
Yep.
But it makes sense because it comes from the days when there were fewer games out there for people to try. Official competition adventure again, The Bane of Llewellyn. And we've got this sort of a little bit Dragonlance looking
A little
thing.
bit,
I mean,
yeah.
she's riding a pterodactyl in her fur bikini.
I dig it.
And she's carrying what appears to be a bladed boomerang.
Right on.
And she's got a curved sword sheathed at her side. She also has rainbow hair. Watch out, guys. Rainbow hair. The Bane of Llewellyn. Excitement and unrest gripped the land of Pelham. Well, we're back to Pelham. 200 years ago, the royal line of kings was deposed and replaced by a high council. The current council is well-meaning, but hopelessly incompetent. Everyone agrees that a drastic change is needed for the kingdom to survive. The ancient prophecy of Bree foretells that in Pelham's darkest hour, a king from the past will return to restore the kingdom. The time of the prophecy is now. All is in readiness. See, so that was the previous adventure, getting things ready. The symbols of the ancient kings have been recovered. The kings of the royal tomb are in hand. Powerful magics to revive the long-dead king have been secured at great cost. Only one problem remains. No one knows where the king is buried. The Bane of Llewellyn concludes the epic adventure of the prophecy of Bree. Can you ensure that the quest will be a success? The adventure can be played as a separate adventure or as the second part of the Prophecy of Bree series. There you go, guys. There you go.
Right on.
All right. So the next one is a compendium of 3 modules. Against the Giants. G123 against the Giants. This one, I don't know, it's probably still in good condition. It's got a little bit more wear than some of the others. Unsurprisingly, the modules that are in more demand, considered the better modules, they get a bit more wear and tear before someone passes them on. In other words, they actually got played. Alrighty. So, against the Giants. There's no blurb for this. It just says it's a compendium, basically. It was originally published as 3 separate adventure. G1, Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. G2, The Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl. And G3, Hall of the Fire Giant King. It has the traditional thing of the maps being inside the cover. Now, nasty looking frog jumping on some adventurers.
That particular module, as you point out, it's concatenated. That actually was the first super module the TSR put out. The first time they did that, where they took many modules and combined them into one, which I can kind of understand the logic behind, because I think G1 and G2 are only 8 pages each.
Yeah, I was going to ask if they had dropped if they'd trimmed them, because my memory had been of a thicker book. But that was like, I played through this when I was a kid, 1980s. But yeah, my memory was that it was a thicker book, but maybe I saw the compendium. I don't know. I mean, that's
yeah. Giants is one of those that's like an evergreen title. So we had each individual G module. Then that you hold in your hands. But then it was G123 was tweaked for 2nd edition and released in the Revenge of the Giants. Oh, but I'm also forgetting one of the modules that you have that you're going to show us also features Against the Giants in it. And well, we'll get to that when we get to that one. But the G series has just been reprinted so many times. I think every edition of D&D has seen a release. And it's a ton of fun. It's just a ton of fun.
So the Young the Third says they played it, but they have it, but have not played it. Groups they've been can't get kept together long enough. Well, as always, the best way to get a steady game group is to run one. Of course, we all like to play rather than GM, but that's why being the GM, it makes it more likely to get a steady game group, because everyone's so grateful that somebody else is running a game, they stick around for it. And my advice is always the open game table. So find your local gaming store, or which that includes like places that focus on Magic card tournaments and Pokemon card tournaments and so on. And get yourself onto their social media pages and tell people that you're going to run a game group, and reach out to everyone that you've ever gamed with and just message them and tell them what you're intending to run and ask them to pass it on to everyone. And you might only get 2 or 3 people. You might only get 1 the first time. That's all right. But what you'll be doing is you'll be sitting at the game table with this DM screen up around you, and you'll have your AD&D books beside you, and people will walk past, and even people who were born after the turn of the century and have just been brought up on 5th edition, they recognize this. This is our history, so they recognize this, and they stop and they ask questions, and then you say to them, sit down, play if you'd like. And they may or may not say yes, and they may say, not today, but I'll, when are you doing next? And you do it every time. I'm going to be there Wednesday, 7 p.m. or whatever, and you're there every time. Wednesday, 7 to 9, and you're there every time. And then over the next few months, what you'll find is something like 10 to 12 different people will come and join your group, and 3 or 4 will be about 5 or 6 will come regularly enough to see at least half of that 12 weeks. And about 3 or 4 will be there all the time and will happily play whatever you run next time. I do it because I'm a part-time stay-at-home dad. I do it in school terms, which tend to be 10 weeks or so. And I just run these open game tables. Anyone could just sit down and play. And that's one of the good things about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Classic Traveller, all those older games. You can make a character in 5 to 15 minutes and just sit down and start playing. And it's not expected that you know all the game mechanics. Like in something like Classic Traveller, the game mechanics are pretty simple and can be learned in 10 minutes. And then in something like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, it starts off relatively simple, so the player doesn't have to know much. But as your character goes up in levels, then they're able to do more things. The magic user can cast more spells and so on. And you're able to take on more dangerous monsters and all the rest. So as your character goes up in ability, you as a new player are also going up in ability. So by the time you get to that level where things are actually complex, you can handle it. That's one of the genius things about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, that the game complexity matches the level of the ability of the player as they go along. It's just like having an under-10s rugby team and then an under-14s rugby team and all the rest. As your character levels up, so will you as a player. That's one of those genius things. So you take that approach, you sit them down, you do it, and you just be open about it. Look, you can sit down and play one time, and if you never play again, that's fine. You let them have a go. And when you're open like that, have the open game table, people will come and go. And you run them through it and you get them into the game as soon as possible. Don't afraid to be cheesy. Hey guys, this room full of orcs that you just killed. Among the treasure is this tied up player.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's like the classic thing. Don't be frightened to be cheesy about it. Everyone has a laugh. Nobody cares. Everyone thinks they have to run this whole sort of critical role scripted kind of thing, which is real genius and that. And I mean, but that's scripted. They pretend otherwise. But it's like the great bodybuilders pretending that they're not taking steroids. Of course, critical role is scripted. Don't be stupid. Anyone can look great.
I just want to emphasize that we are not scripted around here on our Let's Plays.
If we were scripted, I would speak more smoothly with less ums and ahs, and less needless repetition and stuff. I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker. But yeah, anyway, don't be afraid. Sit down with a module or with whatever shit that you've rolled up. Give it a go, and you'll get a game group, and you'll make some lasting friends out of it. So against the Giants, and that's as Bill said, every edition of D&D has done at least one publication of that. And as he said, against the Giants also appears in GDQ 1-7, Queen of the Spiders.
That is the whole enchilada right there.
This apparently is probably on the collector's market worth about as much as the rest put together. There's one little fray on the spine there. Otherwise, it's just normal wear and tear. There's no stains or tears. There's no writing on any of the pages that I've seen. And it has, of course, the maps. Everyone loves a dungeon map.
I will point out one thing. I believe it's been a long time since I've owned a copy of GDQ 1-7. I have the pastel modules and the later editions that come before that, but I think they actually beefed it up. I think they did some padding in terms of adding more writing and stuff like that, but I could be wrong. If somebody out there knows, just let me know.
Well, let's see. They've got there's part 1, which is G1-3, the Giants bit. Part 2, D1-3, more the Drow bit, and then part 3Q, which is the Lolth bit. So the G1-3, the original book, is 32 pages.
Okay.
And then here they've got it up to 34 pages. So they might have added a page or an illustration here or there. It doesn't appear to be significantly different in, if anything, I would expect, so this has got largish, so this is the original one, or the G1-3 compendium, and this has got largish Arial type font, and just 2 columns, whereas the big collection has got smaller, not Times New Roman, but Souvenir or something font, with 3 columns. So if anything, I'd expect they get more words per page in this later one, or this larger compendium. So it would make sense that they beefed it up a bit. It looks like, they might have taken out some old illustrations and put in some new. Those lunatics at the Aseum would know, but I daren't go into their forums and talk to them about it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this about that. Having dipped into their forums a few times, the minutia that they are focused on is very much, the salability of items and they can tell you if there is a typo on page 62 of that module and like why that happened in the printing machine and everything like that, but they couldn't tell you about the lines of rules above and below it that typo affects.
Yeah, it's like the stamp collecting guys or something.
Yeah.
But there's that, and yeah. So this is a module that would keep game groups busy for a year or two.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you have Temple of Elemental Evil as well, because yeah, the blurb, Queen of the Spiders, a world-spanning epic. She sits at the center of her web, a dark force of intense evil power. Her strands reach across Oerth, through the Crystal Mist Mountains, across the embattled human kingdoms, and even reaching the councils of Pomage and beyond. The adventure began in the Temple of Elemental Evil and continued with Scourge of the Slave Lords. It now comes to a climax as the dark forces begin to move against all mankind. This product contains revised material that originally appeared in modules G1, blah, blah, blah. New material for further adventures is also included. You can use this adventure alone or as the conclusion of the series. So I thought, like, that, that's one thing I kind of like about these old modules too, that they say things like you can use it alone or as part of the series. They just kind of, they put it in context for you. That's, again, coming back to the rolling up a character quickly, and that they were very much focused on accessibility. They were like, how can we get people in? How can we encourage them to say, oh yeah, I'll give that a go. And they did that even with the writing on the backs of their modules. They were thinking of that all the time. How can we make it accessible? Dare I say, inclusive. This is a less important one. H4. The character levels 18 to 100. Forgotten Realms, the Throne of Bloodstone.
Yeah, Throne of the Bloodstone is that one actually. That's now when I say rare, I don't mean like, they only printed 10 of these and sold them at a games day in Lake Geneva. It's slightly less common because hobby shops wanted more space for more stuff than for, one big chunky super module. Hey, Graph Paper. A lot of people coming in. I see Wheeling Dragon. Greetings. Michael Connor, Unbred Dead. Graph Paper Architect. Good to see you too.
I love it. Adventure levels 18 to 100.
Yeah.
Someone's munchkinning out.
Go get some sleep, Emmy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, they got lots of maps. I'm not sure what this is. All right, so you've got a village. You've got this thing that looks like a giant drawbridge and stuff. And then, what's this, a particle cannon or something?
Maybe?
How it's... Give the players some time. Approaching the fortress. Give the players some time to look at the map. If the average levels of the PCs is very high, 75 or above, they should get no more than a minute to look at the map. Player characters under 25th level can have as much as 8 or 10 minutes.
Kabuki says it's an 88. KWK 8.8 centimeter.
Give your party an appropriate amount of time, considering number of PCs, magical items owned by the group, and so on. Well, like 75th level or something, won't you have a machine of Lum the Mad in each pocket?
Yeah, something like that.
The Sky and Horizon. I want to know what it is. The Bridge, Dark Mist, the Great Maze, the High Cities, the Low Cities.
I remember
flying above or around the castle. The prince of the undead is a powerful and ruthless ruler, but he is not without his enemies, even among the other planes of the abyss. Consequently, he has taken a number of precautions against intruders approaching and threatening his fortress. Orcus has forbidden any flying in the vicinity of his fortress. Orcus has declared a no-fly zone over his fortress.
So it is an anti-aircraft gun. It is an 8.8.
To enforce his will, he has posted numerous flying guards entrusted with the simple task of destroying any creature with the audacity to ignore the prince's order. These flying patrols are posted at the various observation towers marked on the map. These towers have the unique feature of blocking out most of the view in order to enhance their single purpose. Any creature standing atop one of those towers can see nothing that is attached to or in contact with the ground. However, it can see unerringly anything in its field of vision that is not in contact with the ground. Great bounties are offered by Orcus for those of his flying patrols that locate and destroy intruding flying creatures. Imagine that, eh? You're the F-16 pilot who's enforcing the no-fly zone over the Pentagon or something, and if you shoot down a drone, they give you a 100K bonus.
Hey, I did that. That's good incentive right there. I'm reminded just.
However, a sense of order has evolved among these Abyssian air patrols. The first of the groups to reach a flying intruder is allowed to attack and try to destroy the intruders, while other air patrols stand by. Only if the first group is vanquished can the second move in, and so on. Thus, flying intruders will face a constant battle against these air patrols. Although they will only have to face one group at a time, as soon as one group is destroyed, another is there to continue the attack. So it's not human waves, but demonic waves. Basically, a demon communist. I don't know if they have bayonets and little stars on there. I want to know about that giant gun. Bone guns. These weapons can shoot through the arc before them. They can shoot straight up or straight down at a 45-degree angle. And in case the players think of it, they cannot pivot to shoot into Orcus's throne room, however. Each gun could fire once per round and can be set to achieve any of the following effects to a range of 45 inches. Dispel magic, 12d6 lightning bolt, or magic missile, 20 missiles. The guns hit automatically, but normal saving throws apply. Each gun is operated by a Type 1 demon.
So I got to share this one with you. This brings this to mind. There's a great cartoonist who worked for Stars and Stripes magazine. He started in World War II, and I think he was still doing guest comics as late as the U.S.'s involvement in the Vietnam War. His name was Bill Maudlin, and his stuff, the troops loved his stuff. They absolutely adored it. And talking about the anti-aircraft guns brings this one to mind. And I don't think you guys can read that, but there's an S2 guy is debriefing a German prisoner that they brought in, and he's the S2 guy is saying to the soldier who's brought him in, "I'll let you know if I find the one that invented the 88." Not very fond of that gun.
I like this square maze, and you're like, it's square. How is that a maze? Well, if you look closely, you might be able to see that the lines go over each other. It's basically an Escher drawing.
Yeah.
So you have to go through the entire thing.
The demon web in Q1, which is entailed in that super module you've got, the demon web map is very similar to that, and that particular design, I don't know about the one in Bloodstone, but the one in Q1 apparently Dave Sutherland got from his bathroom mat. It was these woven lines and patterns, so he yeah.
Like, I want to know who's this where are we? Who's this angel with the glasses and the cup of coffee?
I have no idea, man. So let me tell you guys something. When I say that I love first edition AD&D to a point, to a certain publication date, yes, I am that orthodox. Stuff like that is why.
Big colorful map. I think this is the map that they get to look at. And if you're over 75th level, you only get to look at it for a minute. But oh, this is crazy. But yeah, this is not a tournament module.
Somebody was
18 to 100. Somebody was smoking something when they wrote that.
A long tournament. Robert Phelps asking about Spelljammer. I'm not a fan. I know a lot of people adored it, but it's not really my cup of tea.
Yeah, nor mine. I sort of, there's a science and then there's the fantasy. It's kind of like sex and violence. I don't like to mix the two, you know. I like my genres to be distinct. It's like in Ghostbusters. Don't cross the streams, dude.
Don't cross the streams.
It's not good unless you have to destroy Ra's al Ghul. No, that was a different villain. Whatever, the big monster, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Right.
Adventure I2, Tomb of the Lizard King. This is a much more humble one for levels 5 to 7.
There you go.
The southlands of Eeyore are being despoiled. Merchants will no longer run their caravans on the main highway past the quiet village of Wakeham. The peasants are fleeing their lands, and all are demanding protection from the powerful Count of Eeyore. The goodly Count has sent a troop of his trusted fighters to exterminate the brigands believed responsible for these outrages. But weeks have passed, and still there is no word from his force. Now John Brunus, Count of Eeyore, has turned to you for aid. After taking counsel with the High Priest of Eeyore, he believes that a small party of cunning, bold adventurers may succeed where armed might has failed. You find yourself faced with many mysteries. Why has robbery suddenly erupted in the peaceful Southlands? How could mere brigands be as powerful as the foes described to you by their numerous victims? Is this mere robbery, or is there some truth to the rumors, told only in hushed whispers, about the beginnings of a hideous plot being hatched by an ancient, vile, and evil foe of all mankind? The answers to these mysteries will be found by only the most brave and cunning in this extremely challenging adventure for character levels 5 to 7. Tomb of the Lizard King. There you go.
So 5 to 7, that's got to be stratospheric. To you, Kyle, you like that low level stuff.
Well, that's usually the end of the campaign. It's pretty I mean, if you're just letting the dice fall where they may, and if you're doing random encounters and so on, like my thing is always, you know, yes, you may run across a red dragon when you're just traveling overland. That may happen. However, if there is a red dragon, there's going to be some sign of him. He just doesn't appear out of nowhere. There's going to be disappeared cattle or the remains of cattle. There's going to be the dragons dropping. There's going to be a bit of scorched earth where he blew his fire on something and decided to barbecue his cattle before he stole them. And so on. The locals will talk about this thing flying around at night and so on and so forth, right? So they'll know there's something out there. If a bunch of first level guys hear all that and then they approach a mountainside and there's this giant cavernous entrance and they can smell sulfur coming out of it and a metallic smell, and they can see that something large moved into this cavern. It's left a big trail in the mud. And there are giant prints in the ground. The prints, the handprints or the paw prints themselves are 5 or 6 feet long. If the players then choose to walk in at first level, then they get what they get.
There you go, what they get.
But they're not just going to like, you're sitting in a tavern and there's this roar outside. You know, it's no, I'm not going to do that to players. So they get fair warning. Nonetheless, I find players can't help themselves because there's sort of like there's this challenge that they can handle easily, and then there's this challenge that's a little bit tougher that they can handle if they're smart or lucky, and then there's this challenge that they can handle if they're smart and lucky, and then there's this challenge if they're extremely smart or extremely lucky, they might do it, and then their name will live in glory forever. They tend to go for that. Players go for that. They can't help it. It's the don't press the big red button on the wall kind of thing, you know? It's
yeah.
So 5th or 7th level, they're doing well if they reach that in my campaigns. But it's also a result of the open game table thing, because there'll tend to be a turnover of players, because I'll do that term of 10 sessions or something, and then the next term I run something else. So by the time I get to D&D again, it might 6 or 12 months have passed. So it may not be all the same players. So yeah, and then there is this challenge, and they TPK. Quite right. Alrighty. In a similar lizardly theme, there's Dungeon Module N7, Against the Cult of the Reptile God.
N1. That is that. N1.
Sorry? Did I say 7? Yeah. Because I was looking at
serif on it there, but yeah.
Yes. There is, as far as I can tell, one piece of writing on this. Someone called Mark Novicki once owned this. He's written his name up on the side there.
Hello, Mark. We salute you and thank you for your excellent taste in role-playing games.
Vaughan says, I've never had a TPK. Does that make me a bad DM? Not bad, but, you know, maybe a bit soft and kind. Spare the rod, and you spoil the child.
Oh, my God.
You know, as DM, who is your father now, if not me? Who is your father now, if not me?
I gave you this. Such a waste. Contemplate this on the tree of woe.
As I said in Karate Kid, strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
Wasn't the message that, Kyle, that wasn't supposed to be the message of Karate Kid. Kyle
haven't you seen that bit where
was for Cobra Kai?
Haven't you seen that bit where it's explained that Daniel's son was actually the villain of Karate Kid?
Yes, I have. I've seen those. I've seen the whole, you know, this character was actually dead all along. About innumerable movies. I've seen that Wendy in The Shining was actually the villain, and I've seen all those, you know, sort of, no, you completely got it wrong. Clickbait craziness. Hello, Orbital Air.
Well, I do think it's fair to say that Daniel-san in the movie was not without his flaws. It was basically stupid young blokes galore.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Good, Vaughn.
There was a bit I saw the other day. I'm just trying to find that again. Here we go. So this is from Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is the oldest D&D story that we have. So Gilgamesh was an ancient Mesopotamian king ruling about 3800 BC. And he decides to go off and kill monsters. And before he goes off to kill monsters, he brings together the elders of the city who are going to run the place in his absence. And he tells them how to run the place well in his absence. He says, let not the youths gather in the street to form an assemblage, for much discord and unrest will they cause. Judge fairly the grievances and petitions of the weak and poor, and let not the strong and wealthy gain unjust advantage. So don't let the stupid young blokes cause trouble. Watch out for them. Have impartial courts, and don't let the rich oppress the poor too much. I think that's about 80% of the stability of society, even to this day. Not bad for 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But the first point, keep the stupid young blokes busy. Let not the youths gather in the street to form an assemblage. So, yeah, that's our words of wisdom today. The youths should form an assemblage like around a game table, something like that. We'll keep them busy like that. I think there's some wisdom there. And Miyagi and whatever that clown's name was in Cobra Kai, they had that wisdom too, because they kept all the young blokes busy in their karate class. They took their aggression and they channeled it to go into the air, and just occasionally bruising each other and stuff, so that they didn't cause any larger damage out there. Yeah, because what's that thing? There's that challenge, and he's like, we'll do it at the tournament, and nobody's to touch the kid until the tournament. And then whatever the results of the tournament, that's it. So they take that and they structure that aggression and all the rest. We just do it by proxy, by means of all this fun stuff. But yeah, it doesn't make you soft-born. Maybe you just got a smart player, a smart bunch of players, or you just run things that way at the game table. That's fine. When was my last TPK? I don't remember, but I certainly have lots of characters die and that. I mean, as well when I play. But you have to be careful how you handle it, because like once I was playing and we were running from these ghouls and doing a fighting retreat from these ghouls carrying treasure, and there was this dwarf with me, dwarf fighter, and he fell down, and the DM explained I could carry either the dwarf or the treasure, and my character was a thief, so he looked at his sack of treasure and he looked at the dwarf and he said, "I'm going to miss you," and off he went. And the player Aaron was so annoyed that he didn't come back to the game group. So this kind of ruthless approach, it can have negatives. So take that under advisement. There's a balance to these things. Me, I wouldn't have cared, but Aaron did. So anyway, yep. So against the cult of the reptile god, previously owned by Mark Novicki, whoever he is. I hope he's still gaming. Then there's N4, Treasure Hunt, which is a bit generic because, like, isn't that every adventure? Marooned on a barren isle. Hang on, is this another tournament one? No. Marooned on a barren isle, the island of Villadel, the mighty Sea King, was sacked by a pirate army 60 years ago. Its destruction was so complete that even the location of the island was lost and forgotten. Despite the rumors of immense treasures still hidden in the ruined stronghold, no one ever found the Sea King's island again. Until now. Through a cruel twist of fate, a small band of unwilling adventurers is washed ashore. Hang on, I've seen it. This is a... that was the other module. On a small barren island. It evidently was a problem of the adventurers. Like, can we roll to avoid the adventure? They seem to... It seems to be a theme in these modules. You are going to play this module whether you like it or not. I've just spent $20 on it. Oh, hang on, what was it? US? It was $8 then. I've just spent $8 on it. You guys are going to play it. And discovers what remains of Villadel settlement. But they aren't alone. Marauding orcs and goblins have found the island too, and are frantically searching for the lost hoard. In this desperate treasure hunt, the real payoff may be survival. Survivor Island. You've been voted off the island with an axe. Treasure Hunt is different from other AD&D game adventures. The player characters begin the game at 0 level, harsh, without choosing a class, and must work their way up to 1st level. It is perfect for a group of beginning players or experienced players looking for a new and different challenge. Now that's harsher than I would be, but yeah. Wow. How do you learn your character thing? Anyway. Yeah, so they begin with, so they get a name like, so they begin with like, there's Melisana, adventurous, human female, age 19, 5'5", 130 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. Alignment tendency, neutral good. So it looks like they choose an alignment later too. Strength 9, int 13, wisdom 17, dex 12, con 11, charisma 14. Hit point 6, weapon proficiency, dagger, language common. Skills, that's the old DMG's background skills, sailor and merchant. Melisana, daughter of the merchant Malcaris of Ventress, is a good-natured and insightful young woman of sufficient natural wisdom not to have grown up spoiled by her overindulgent parents. She is determined to run her father's business when he retires from the day-to-day management and has set herself the task of becoming a good sailor and merchant, a goal she is accomplishing. She is not violent of nature, though the need for survival will prompt her to help her allies if they are endangered. And then there's the elf, age 569. and so on.
Nice.
So that's their 0 level guys, and that's their pictures. There's the old man as well. Old man, human male, age 83. Oh, okay. That's spoiler. He's an NPC, so I won't describe him. But he's 83. He's a crazy old man. Anyway, treasure hunt. You're stranded on a desert island stranded on an island where you will have an adventure, whether you like it or not.
That's the quantum ogre. It's like you roll up an ogre lair, and the party just does a 180-degree turn from it and marches off in a different direction. And you're like, damn it, no, I wanted this adventure. It's gonna doesn't matter where you guys go. The adventure is gonna happen. The adventure I rolled up is going to happen.
The last time I did that was I was 16 years old, and I did it to my friend Peter DeCouris, who had Durf, the magic user, and I teleported him into a dungeon. I said it was the evil wizard in charge of the dungeon, and that. Peter, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I was 16. I didn't know better. Dungeon module U1, The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, premiere adventure from the United Kingdom by Dave J. Brown with Don Turnbull. An adventure for character levels 1 to 3. Desperate. So this is the cover. The blurbs on the blurbs on the front. So I have to turn it away. Desolate and abandoned, the evil alchemist mansion stands alone on the cliff, looking out towards the sea. Mysterious lights and ghostly hauntings have kept away the people of Saltmarsh, despite rumors of a fabulous forgotten treasure. What is its sinister secret? The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh is the first installment in a series of 3 modules designed and developed in the United Kingdom for beginning adventures with the day D&D rules. The adventure can be played by 5 to 10 characters of levels 1 to 3. The module contains large-scale maps, full background information, and detailed encounter descriptions for the player and DM.
It is a nice little campaign, for sure.
There's modules, and there's even ship ones.
Once again, proof positive that if a dungeon module offers you nothing, it does offer you maps. If you need a ship, like, oh, the characters are going to be on a ship. Okay. And by the way, yes, U1 is ostensibly set in Greyhawk. It is set in Greyhawk.
Okay.
Robert Phillips says the sinister secret is parking fines for your horses. But come and clamp a big boot on his hoof if you don't pay.
And they've got, excuse me, pre-gens as well. That's the thing you get more in these older modules, pre-gens. Oddly, not in the one for 18th to 100th levels. There weren't pre-gens there. You need like 6 pages just for the spells.
Good Lord.
This seems to be. I love these images. It's so cheesy. These images. So there's the chick fighting in the bikini. There's the some sort of magical dude doing that to cast his spells. And then there's a dog-headed dude fighting. I mean, what's he, a bugbear or something? I don't know.
Dog-headed dude? I don't know. Oh, yeah. So, wait, which one is that?
This one here in the middle.
Yeah. Which module is that?
U1.
Oh, that's still U1. Man, it has been a long time since I've looked at U1. Because I don't remember that at all.
Well, that's the image. It doesn't necessarily relate to the text. I mean, that's just the nature of these things. The images didn't always relate.
Yeah, there's a couple of classic modules that I actually love. What is it? Ghost Tower of Inverness has the what we rib Alan Hammock about this. It has the Aquafresh toothpaste monsters on the front, and then in is it the? I think it's A4 has the party fighting a vampire. You know, they're holding up wooden stakes, and another guy's getting ready to stab it. There is no vampire in the module.
Well, they've got there is some evocative images here. Who did the illustrations?
If you're a politician from Boston, it sure is Orbital. Ooh, too soon.
It's got the authors. It's got distribution and so on. It doesn't actually say who the illustrators are. Perhaps on the back? No. Interesting. All right. So we have to crowdsource this information. Can anyone tell us who the illustrators are for U1, the sinister secret of Saltmarsh?
Yes, that is. I know
some
who
evocative ones. So there's the first. There's these guys climbing onto the ship, and there they are exploring the ship. And next they are rowing away or to from the ship.
Jim Holloway. Jim Holloway is that artist.
One of them has like a Scottish, well, they wouldn't call it a beret or something else, but it looked like his tartan hat. It's one of the rowers. Got this Scottish hat on. Can't see if it doesn't show if he's got a kilt though.
The ship has a Scottish engineer. I can't go.
Perhaps. Do I have terrible trouble at Trigador? No. I would remember that title because that's awful. They've got lizard men hanging around in the hammocks. Yeah, so there's lots. Oh, and there's this like conquistador-looking guy cutting some sausages off from the ones hanging up in the ship stores. It's pretty cool. And then there's this unfortunate fellow, pointy-eared fellow, chained up.
Yes, an aquatic elf.
Yeah, the dog-headed dude must have been a gnoll because they've got here two gnolls. And then there's one of the wandering encounters or something, and then there's those two guys. But yeah, lots on the ship, which is pretty cool. Yeah, they've gone full in. They just mix up all the time periods. There's this Robin Hood looking guy, and then there's a guy with chain and a metal helm, and then another guy with like robes and hooded robes and a pouch on the back, and then there's a short guy at the back who's like a dwarvish swashbuckler or something, going by his hat, like a dwarvish French musketeer. I don't know. So yeah, they obviously had great fun illustrating it. It seems to have a good deal of cheese in it, which I approve of. Everything's better with cheese. Then, following up on U1, the sinister secret of Saltmarsh is the danger at Dunwater.
Yep.
They're such English names, aren't they? Saltmarsh and Dunwater. The little fishing town of Saltmarsh is threatened. Why are lizard men gathering force nearby, and why have they been buying large quantities of weapons? From whom? Like, who's selling lizard men weapons? I don't know. Isn't that... Shouldn't the local count put like this restriction on it, you know? Or is there like a national sword association that's it's a lobby group that stops them selling? It's like, no, lizard men have a right to...
Kyle, careful. Careful.
Well, I know. Like, why would you sell lizard men weapons? Anyway, why are lizard men gathering force nearby, and why have they begun buying large quantities of weapons? A party of bold adventurers must answer these questions, or the people of Saltmarsh will never live in peace. I think they must not just answer the questions, but do something about them. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
Danger at Dunwater is the second part of this in a series of 3 modules designed and developed in the United Kingdom. Blah blah blah. This one, okay. This is slightly different illustrations this time. Some of them, they seem to be more like charcoal sketches. Yeah, there's a few regular ones. Like I said, the style's more like charcoal sketches. They're not.
Yeah, that's classic Jim Holloway work there.
Oh, I'm glad we know who it is, who to give credit to.
Yeah. You know, I've said this before, and it's audience, you guys can feel free to disagree with me if you want. I was always more of a fan of Jim Holloway's sci-fi art. I thought his stuff in Star Frontiers and for BattleTech, I thought was just fantastic. I never cared for his work in fantasy. I don't know what it was. It just didn't. Paranoia. Yeah, Paranoia.
I definitely remember the Paranoia once.
Yeah, I just I don't know what about it. It just, the weird organicness of Errol Otis's work, the almost woodcut feel of Dave Trampier's work, the pulp magazine stylings of Dave Sutherland and others. Holloway's art seemed just like a little bit out of step with it. I don't hate it. I'm just saying it's not my favorite. Oh, Lux has got it. The baby lizard men moral quandary in U1. Lizard men are neutral by nature. You just raise them and bring them home and raise them as minions.
I wonder if they're related to the ones in Dragonlance. You know, they call them Dracos or something. I can't remember what they call them.
I don't know. I have a Dragonlance book here. Maybe I should look at it someday. But it might have Kender in it, and then I'd have to, burn my hands in a fire to cleanse that.
Because all I remember is the lizard men in Dragonlance was them coming up as a Dragon magazine question, which I've mentioned to you, Bill, many times, but some in the audience may not have heard it. Where so Dragon magazine used to have letters. So before there was Reddit or forums or whatever for people to ask questions about their games, people used to write into Dragon magazine and say, what's the official word on how we do this. And there'd be like initiative questions and all that sort of stuff, as you expect. But one of them was, how much does a legless dwarf weigh, and can he fight from a human fighter's backpack? It's a bit Master Blaster, eh?
I was going to say, who run Dungeon Town? Master Blaster.
And the other one was, how much Draconian? That's what they were called. How much does a wingless Draconian weigh, and can you tie him up and put him in a trebuchet? And the response was, what kind of games are you guys running? And then they said, like, the legs are this much percentage of the body and blah, blah, blah. And to give them an answer, I can't remember what the rule was, whether you could fight from the backpack, but yeah, that's what it was. Dragon Magazine is what we had before Reddit and all the rest. And I think that was probably better because, you had to wait at least a month for the response. And then you had that month to sit on it and think, actually, that was a really stupid question. So when the response came back, well, if it was a smart question, then by that time you'd already figured out what to do for yourself, and which we've got to encourage in gaming. Just figure it out. Just wait. The DM should just go, oh, it's a +3, whatever. Go on, and
just roll a d6. 1, 2, 3, yes. 4, 5, 6, no. Let's keep going.
Exactly. So by the time they got a response, either the person had figured out for themselves, or they'd figured out that it was actually a stupid question. So, Adventure Module U3, the final enemy.
Yes.
At last, an opportunity to avert the threat to the little town of Saltmarsh. The real enemies have been identified. Evil, cruel creatures massed in force and viciously organized. Can the brave adventurers thwart this evil and ensure the safety of Saltmarsh? The final enemy is the final part in a series of 3 modules, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So this is adventures levels 3 to 5. So it's sort of it's an interesting thing that, like, the first module is 1 to 3, the second is 1 to 4, and the last one is 3 to 5. So that kind of gives you an idea of how they expected people to level up. So it's probably a bit more rapid nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to you start at level 10 or something. I don't know. But yeah, so, and this is the charcoal drawings, etc. This one's signed by a Parkinson down the corner. In the corner here, signed, or it's white.
Right on.
Someone called Parkinson. There's no author, no new authors or anything. Yeah, so there's another charcoal drawing. It doesn't have a signature, but it does have this little symbol. Sorry, it's very hard to align this with the. It does have this little symbol. Let us know, anyone, if you recognize it. I presume that's somebody's sigil, which appears on a few other illustrations as well. And then there's also a Parkinson. It's probably Parkinson's, actually, because he structures his P in a similar way.
Yeah, I don't think that's Keith Parkinson. I could be wrong.
Well, it's somebody Parkinson.
Well, look in the front or back of the module and it'll say.
As I said, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't. Huh.
No, none of them. The U series. Oh, this has a little. Yeah, this is apart from the one on the cover. This is the only one of my modules that's got any writing on it. It's got just highlighted. Presumably, those are the characters that were played.
Oh no,
Yeah.
it was Keith Parkinson. It is Keith Parkinson. This is per Wikipedia, which I mean,
Okay.
hey, take that as being truthful or not. But yeah, it says cover with art by Keith Parkinson. Must have been early in his career because Parkinson's stuff got a lot better. Got a lot better. You compare that to some of his later stuff.
Well, I mean, if it's the first modules coming from a crew in the UK, that's very much kind of startup kind of thing, isn't it? So it's probably just a couple of guys sitting down at their dinner table and having chats about things and meeting once a week while they gradually type things up and all the rest. So very much an enthusiast thing. And hey, if we're lucky, we'll make a few bucks. But yeah, there were no illustrated credits in any of those three U series modules, so we have to rely on other people's information. The last one I have is WG4, the Forgotten Temple of Sarandon.
A companion module with S4.
An adventure set on Greyhawk's world for character levels 5 to 10. This special module is a combined wilderness and dungeon adventure scenario. It contains background information, referees' notes, encounter keys, outdoor and dungeon level maps, and new monsters and treasures. While it is designed to interface with the lost caverns of Shojkamp, this module is capable of standing alone. Likewise, while it is placed within the Greyhawk campaign, it can easily be adapted to play in any individual campaign, which employs the advanced Dungeons and Dragons game system. And it doesn't have otherwise the inspirational thing. Yeah, I already don't like these guys.
Well, so a little bit of spoiler. Yes, those are cultist robes. Look, guys, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and we've done a deep dive on that module on this show. So for the audience, the big secret in Forgotten Temple of Sarandon is what is called the inner cyst, and there is a first of all, it's as cold as the depths of space. You have to wear those robes, or your characters will freeze to death. Don't science at me and say space isn't cold. You know what I mean. But the methodology of getting into that room is so contraintuitive as to beggar belief. And other than getting into the innermost cyst, it really is just a fairly standard dungeon crawl. If you're going to run Sarandon, first of all, yes, do it as part of S4, but I would give a big, thick breadcrumb trail to how to get into the innermost cyst to retrieve the odds and ends that are in there. I promise you, your group's going to be like, huh, and turn around and leave after they kill off the standard humanoid monsters that are guarding the chamber. They're not going to poke around and do the ridiculous things required to get inside the cyst. So I would add some changes if you really want to run that module.
Well, this one's it's got the plateau of the Arakokra. I presume that's this monster.
You actually got
it. Small tribe of bird people. Blah blah blah. Okay. Rather disturbing looking charcoal image of a disembodied eye.
What it's supposed to be.
Hmm?
I still haven't figured out what that's supposed to be.
Okay.
So here's a little bit of fun trivia about that. Those of you that are familiar with the WG series, you might look at that and say, hey, why does the WG series start with WG4, and why does WG4 come right after S4? So here's the reason. Gary wanted a run of modules set in the world of Greyhawk that were just WG, and it would start with WG1, WG2, WG3, WG4, WG5, WG6. What was supposed to be WG1 was going to have been the village of Hamlet. WG2 and 3 were going to be the Temple of Elemental Evil, and WG4 was going to be Lost Caverns of Sojkon. WG5 was to be Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. Stuff got delayed, and the module codes got shifted around. They stuck S4, or they stuck Lost Caverns of Sojkon in the S series. But then when they started using the WG numbers again, they linked it to that. It was very strange. Greg wants you to say aluminum.
Aluminium.
So, that was Australian saying they put an entire extra syllable in that word down there.
As my son commented, why is an American spelling for the word liter?
Couldn't tell you.
That was a fair question. So anyway, that's the big pile of modules that I have.
That is a big pile of awesome. And as I've said before, if your Melbourne was Florida and not Australia, I would pester you ceaselessly. But also, I would come over and get those from you. So I don't, that is awesome stuff. And I hope you can find, if not a worthy person to donate them to, then get some hella Skrilla for that, man. Those are good modules.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at it because basically I don't have room on my bookshelves or my son's bookshelves. He's got a lot of gaming stuff as well on his bookshelves.
Put them in a filing cabinet.
But I mean, I don't want to hold on to things just for the sake of holding on to things. It's one of the reasons I don't go to those CM guys. I'll always remember people had put up pictures of their collections, and there was this guy who had a beautiful room in his house that he'd converted, and there was this big long table, like one of those 19th century library tables, wood on the outside and the leather panels on the top, and these beautiful wooden varnished chairs and so on, and beautiful cabinets and shelves, and he had 18 copies of original D&D, a mix of white box and varnished and stuff, and they're all in plastic, and I looked at that and go, well, just his original D&D stuff is the price of a small apartment in many cities.
Yeah.
And then when you put all these other collected stuff that he had in multiple copies of things, it was the price of a house. And the thing is, he didn't game. When he was asked, he didn't game. Now, I understand, like, if you've got this $18,000 copy of first printing original D&D, okay, you're not... Yeah, you are going to get it out and have those white gloves on, and you're not going to use that while you're rolling up Cag the Fighter. That's fair enough. Just use your PDF copy. But even if that particular copy isn't gamed with, the person should game. It's just wrong. It's just to have all this stuff just sitting there.
I agree with you, and I mean that's why, like not last Christmas 3 weeks ago, but a year and 3 weeks ago, I had someone not this past summer, but 18 months ago, gave me just tons and tons and tons of RPG material, and I was like, I had just gotten, because the previous spring, Kyle, you remember, I had just gotten the office organized like this.
Yeah.
And I had room on my bookshelves. Everything was going to be, you guys would be able to see it on stream. And, I bought one new bookshelf for future expansion. And he was like, come and get this stuff or I'm throwing it in the trash. So I went over there and I came home with like 5 plastic 44-gallon totes of RPG material. But I sold it. I sold it to someone who wanted it, because I'm not going to hoard stuff. All of this stuff, this is all comics and whatnot, but all of this stuff has been played, or I'm going to drag it out and play it someday.
Yeah.
I just, I put stuff up on display so people can see it. I love my white box set, But all of this stuff, none of it's in poly bags, none of it's under glass or anything like that. I will grab it and
like I said, I understand if something costs you a lot of money, you're not going to use it day to day and wear it out and wreck it. I think that's fair enough. But you should at least be a gamer. It's. Yeah.
That was always one thing that stuck in my craw. Bless their pointy little heads, but the guys at the Okium, the majority of them, I found the ones that play brand new D&D. They don't give a shit about classic D&D. But I tell you what, when somebody like Rob Kuntz or Steve Marsh or Errol Otis or anybody like that, if they do like a tiny print run of a module that they wrote just for GaryCon or something, those guys over at the Okium will snap it up and you will not see it. They might not play it, but they're going to make damn sure you don't either. It's going to go in their safety deposit box, and that makes me berserk.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to do with the modules, as I said, to be able to pass them on to somebody else who's just getting started in their AD&D journey, so that they can run through a module. And as I said, I don't myself use modules. I just roll things up and make things up on the spot. But I appreciate that somebody who's just started in DMing won't be able to do that. And then some people have been doing it for decades, don't want to do that. So that's fair enough. So I would just pass it on. That would be the ideal. But failing that, I'll sell it for a stack of cash. So I think what I might do, because I'd looked up the numbers just to find out, would it cost more in money in electricity to shred it, or did I have something worth $10,000 there? I looked at the prices just to figure it out, because obviously there's a huge middle ground. And then there's some stuff that's worth some money, but it's not worth thousands of dollars or whatever. So I think what I might do is just hold on to it for at least one term while I'm doing the open game table. And if I convert some more people to the way of AD&D, then I might be able to pass them on.
Right on. Well,
and if that fails, then sell.
Yeah. Well, good luck in whatever you do. And once again, if you're, it will cost as much as in shipping to get a stack of media like that across the ocean to me. But if we were more proximate, I damn well better believe I might jump on that.
Yeah.
But that is an awesome collection, Kyle, and I'm very thankful that you shared that with us. Now, what is your schedule, just so everybody knows, and they can yell at me and remind me when I start putting up, Kyle's going to be back next week. No, Bill, he's not. Here's your pudding cup, sit in the sun. He's not going to be back next week. So what is your schedule?
Right. So you can always go to thevikinghatgm.com. All right, and I'm just about to post up the link that's about to come out of Bill's account there. That's the live stream schedule. Oh, sorry, that was for 2023. We want the one. Why is the kid going to 2023? Oh, that one. Sorry, I've stuffed up the link on my page.
That's okay.
Or
I have your page up.
it says 2023, but in fact, it is the 2024 one. So I'm an idiot.
2024 live stream schedule. Okay.
Yeah. So schedule. So we've just got that, and then there's a break to the 7th because the kids are coming back, and then after that school starts. So I'll be available because we do it during the school day on my time. I know it's evening over there, but it's school day, during school day my time.
Right on. The dates are in U.S. time since I'm from Florida. Is it globalization a wonderful thing? Well, yes, it is. But anyway, so yes, you guys can check out the Viking Hat GM there, and I'll stick that up on the screen real quick. And yeah, so that's we are out. Kyle is out until the 7th. We'll find stuff to do, guys. Don't worry. We'll do some deep dives. We'll talk about news and that sort of thing. Hey, Graph Paper has the litany. Well, he has a good litany. Bring snacks. The dice are always right. I master the game. The game does not master me. Momentum over perfection.
And there's all the articles I've written on AD&D.
But I guess the last bit of news I did want to mention, Colin, I don't know if you heard this. I don't know if I spoke to you about this, but Janelle Jacques passed away today.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. We I do have a video up about that. I didn't really feel right like just blasting it out everywhere. It's not privated, or you have to get the link from me or anything like that. But you can find it down in the channel for those of you that would like that. I only knew a very thin sliver of Jacques' work, just the stuff in Deities and Demigods, some of the work with Judges Guild, of course, Dark Tower, we did a deep dive on, and Quake, Jacques' work goes all the way back into the early and later days of video games. So really just a huge career that spanned so many different disciplines, and Janelle will be missed. And I'm not just saying that to mope, but I want to point out that was one of the people that I wanted to interview for the show. I knew Janelle was not feeling well, and I was like, okay, I don't want to pester him over the holidays. I don't want to pester her over, while Janelle is ill or anything like that. I'll reach out to them. Take a minute, guys. Take a minute, because the first generation of creators for the hobby that we all love, they're getting on in years, and time is taking its toll. I literally just did not email Jim Rosseloff I did not email Jim Rosseloff in enough time to be able to interview him for the show. I could have called on the phone David C. Sutherland III, the guy that did the cover of the Dungeon Master's Guide, the guy that did the cover of the Monster Manual. And it was just one of those things. I'll do it later. Don't do it later. If these folks are going to be at a con, if you can reach out to them on social media and say hi, don't wait to take another, I'll do it later. Don't wait to do it later.
Well, the same applies for everyone in your life, loved ones and friends and all the rest. Don't put off talking to the people who you value.
Yeah, truly. Well, so, best wishes, of course, deepest sympathies to friends and family. I wish I could say that I was among the friends at least, but Dave Mills points out, I thought I'd see Nirvana the next time. Sure. But anyway, with that said, Kyle, thank you as always for hanging out with us this evening, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a bit. I'll be back tomorrow night with something fun for sure. I'm just getting back up on my feet, guys, as far as streaming again. So I need to actually schedule stuff, but I'll figure it out. But as far as that goes, I'm going to go ahead and bid you all adieu. Kyle, peace to you and everybody.
See you guys February 7th.
Yes, on February 7th. But yeah, be good to everyone.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.